A man was approached by two suspects attempting to take his motorbike on a quiet street. The situation quickly turned tense, but moments later, a nearby homeowner stepped outside. Caught off guard, the suspects hesitated, then fled. The quiet walk home turned tense in seconds when two riders moved in, blocking her path and closing the distance fast. They expected hesitation, but got none. The woman stayed composed, reacting with precise, controlled action. He rushed in thinking it would be quick, in and out with no resistance. But everything went wrong as staff reacted instantly, calm and alert. Pressure built and he lost control. Then he ran. Two people followed without hesitation. The chase turned tense fast, and seconds later, everything stopped. One bad decision left no way out. Was it worth it? A troubling robbery incident has raised alarms among residents in the Belen neighborhood of Cucuta. Authorities reported signs of deliberate coordination, with the suspect using a mobile approach to quickly move in and out of the area. Community members are now calling for increased vigilance and stronger security presence to prevent similar incidents. A bold jewelry store heist quickly spiraled into chaos. Four suspects stormed in, smashing display cases with hammers and flashing guns. One even brought a metal cutter, trying to break through the inner security door. It looked like a clean, coordinated hit. The shop owner didn't freeze. Armed with a hunting rifle, he fired back in self-defense. In an instant, everything flipped. Gunshots echoed. Panic took over. The crew scattered, running for their lives as the entire operation collapsed in seconds. They closed in fast, thinking the driver had no way out. A perfect setup, easy target. But he didn't panic, didn't freeze. In one split-second move, he made a bold decision and pushed forward. Everything flipped instantly. A late-night incident escalated rapidly when a group of four suspects stormed a pharmacy, targeting cash and high-value weight loss medication. What appeared to be a planned robbery quickly spiraled when police units arrived and surrounded the location. Within moments, a fierce exchange broke out, turning the scene chaotic. Amid the confrontation, a 28-year-old officer was fatally injured. Three suspects were neutralized at the scene, while a fourth was taken into custody as authorities regained control. A staged robbery in São Paulo turned into chaos in seconds. A group disguised as civil police used a vehicle with flashing lights to stop a logistics officer on his way home. It looked official, controlled, perfectly set up, but they chose the wrong target. The officer quickly spotted the red flags and reacted without hesitation. Gunfire erupted. Caught off guard, the attackers lost control as the situation flipped instantly. Forced to retreat, they fled the scene, leaving behind a stolen firearm and a fake investigator badge. In Pedro Aguirre Cerda, a police detective and his colleague had just finished at the bank when two vehicles suddenly pulled in. Within seconds, multiple suspects rushed in, surrounding them and aiming weapons, expecting an easy robbery. But they miscalculated. Faced with immediate danger, the detective didn't hesitate. He drew his service weapon and responded with precision. In an instant, the entire situation flipped. Three men stood talking on a busy street when two riders suddenly approached, closing in with clear intent. It looked fast. It looked planned, but the group didn't panic. They stayed calm, stood shoulder to shoulder, and refused to back down. In seconds, the balance shifted. The attempt broke apart. A man sitting on a street corner was suddenly approached by a group of criminals. Sensing danger, he quickly fled to stay safe. But moments later, he returned, launching a sudden counterattack. The situation flipped instantly, leaving the group in panic as their plan collapsed on the spot. It looked normal at the red light, just pedestrians waiting to cross. Then, in a split second, everything changed as they moved in and pressured the driver. But nearby, people noticed something was off. No hesitation. They stepped in together, calm and decisive. The situation flipped fast. The suspects lost control and were restrained on the spot. In Pasuruan, two suspects tried to steal a motorbike outside a store. As one broke the lock, four students rushed in and confronted him. Overwhelmed, he fled the scene, leaving his own bike behind. A young man walking down the street was suddenly rushed by a group of robbers. With no warning, they closed in fast, but he reacted just in time, breaking free and sprinting away. In a matter of seconds, he escaped what could have been a dangerous situation. A suspect stormed into a store, moving fast and ready to strike. The tension spiked instantly, but then one mistake changed everything. He dropped his weapon. In that split second, an employee acted without hesitation, grabbing the gun and throwing it out into the street. Just like that, the threat was gone. In Lima's busy historic center, suspects targeted money changers to steal nearly $15,000. The crowd was dense, tension rising fast. But police moved in just in time. Swift, coordinated action stopped the robbery instantly. All suspects were detained, and the situation was secured within seconds. Two riders closed in, setting up a quick move as tension built in seconds. But the target sensed it early. No panic, no hesitation. He reacted instantly, taking control of the moment. The pressure flipped just as fast. The attackers froze, their plan collapsing before it could even begin. No chance to continue. A quiet, late night was shattered in seconds. Just after 11 p.m., a man parked his pickup outside his home. Moments later, a white car pulled up, and three armed suspects rushed in fast. One of them yanked the door open, but they miscalculated. The driver reacted instantly. From inside the vehicle, he grabbed a firearm and fired back. Gunshots echoed, and the entire situation flipped in a heartbeat. A quiet food shop suddenly turned tense when two individuals rushed in, trying to take control fast. It looked like a quick takeover, but they didn't know who was nearby. One man stayed calm, watching every move, waiting. Then he acted. Perfect timing, no hesitation. In an instant, the situation flipped. The pressure collapsed, and the entire attempt fell apart on the spot. A slow drive turned into a tense encounter when two strangers suddenly blocked a vehicle's path. One suspect rushed in, striking the driver's window with force, trying to break through and take control. But the driver didn't panic. He stayed composed, ready to react. Then, everything changed. A sudden loud bang shattered the moment, and the attackers immediately fled into the night. Two individuals thought they had found an easy target, moving in to take a vehicle in broad daylight. But they didn't realize the owner was right there. In a split second, everything changed. Without hesitation, the man rushed in, grabbing one suspect and pulling him away from the vehicle. The sudden move shattered their plan, forcing both to panic and retreat. A quiet garage turned tense as a group closed in fast, blocking the way and pressuring the driver inside. It looked like there was no escape, but his armored car held strong, giving him a crucial edge. No panic, no hesitation. He stayed calm and made one bold move, pushing forward through the chaos. Everything flipped instantly. The attackers lost control and backed off. A quiet parking area turned tense when a thief moved in, attempting to steal a motorbike while no one seemed to be watching. It looked like an easy opportunity. But in seconds, everything changed. The suspect was spotted mid-action, triggering an immediate confrontation as people nearby stepped in. A tense moment unfolded inside a convenience store as an individual tried to pressure staff for money. The situation looked ready to escalate, but they didn't know. The team moved in fast, taking control within seconds. The attempt collapsed instantly. Both individuals were secured, and everyone inside remained safe. They thought everything was set, moving into position for a quick move, unaware they were already being watched, every step tracked, every move anticipated. Then, in a split second, it all collapsed. Officers stepped in at the perfect moment, calm and coordinated. No chaos, no chance to react. The plan ended before it even began. The suspects were taken into custody on the spot. An armed robbery unfolded at a convenience store in Guayubin, east of Santo Domingo, as suspects arrived on motorbikes and carried out a rapid theft. Within minutes, they took cash and goods and fled. But the escape didn't last. Authorities reviewed security footage, identified those involved, and tracked them down days later. All suspects were arrested, turning a quick hit into a case solved through surveillance. A man riding a red motorbike suddenly found himself struggling with suspects trying to steal his vehicle. The situation escalated quickly, but he didn't face it alone. His resistance caught attention, and within seconds, bystanders rushed in. The crowd closed in, surrounding the suspects and blocking any escape. He rushed in for a quick grab, thinking it would be easy, but the target reacted instantly, creating space and staying calm. The attacker pushed again, chasing and trying to take control. Then everything flipped. The man turned and stood his ground. No hesitation, no fear. The pressure shifted fast. The attacker lost confidence and backed off. Seconds later, he ran. A tense moment unfolded as a man was confronted and threatened, the situation turning serious in seconds. It looked like the suspect had control, everything leaning in his favor. But just behind the door, something unexpected was already in motion. In a split second, the balance shifted. The plan unraveled before it could fully play out. A tense incident unfolded at a mobile phone store in Leeds late in the evening. At around 8:51 p.m. on January 9th, 2026, two suspects dressed in black jackets with hooded coverings approached the cashier area. Their movements raised immediate alarm as the situation escalated quickly inside the store. Authorities have since launched a criminal investigation, working to identify those involved and clarify the full sequence of events. A bold carjacking unfolded on a busy street as armed suspects forced a driver out at gunpoint, expecting a quick getaway. One jumped behind the wheel, ready to flee, but then everything stalled. He fumbled with the controls, unable to move the car. The problem was simple. He didn't know how to drive a manual. An armed robbery occurred at a bakery in Corrillos around 10 p.m., creating a tense situation for customers inside. According to authorities, the suspect entered the shop, threatened patrons, and took cash from the register before attempting to flee. Patrolling officers in the area quickly responded after noticing the incident. A tense ambush unfolded in Piura after a timber businessman withdrew a large sum of cash. Two suspects on a motorbike followed him to his office and moved in fast, threatening him with a firearm. But they hit resistance. The victim reacted instantly, forcing the door shut and blocking their entry. Inside, employees jumped in, throwing objects to disrupt the attack. The pressure flipped. Faced with unexpected resistance, the suspects fired shots, then fled empty-handed. In Piura, Peru, a planned police operation shut down an extortion scheme at the perfect moment. After threatening a businessman for 8,000 sols and ongoing protection payments, the suspects thought they were collecting easy money. But the victim had already alerted authorities. As the cash changed hands, undercover officers moved in instantly, swift, precise, and coordinated. Three suspects were detained on the spot, with no chance to escape. A couple sat inside their car when a stranger suddenly approached and tried to open the door, creating an instant moment of tension. Without hesitation, the man jumped out to confront him, caught mid-motion, hurriedly pulling up his pants as he gave chase. The unexpected response threw off the suspect. breaking the attempt before it could go any further. After a robbery in Iquique, authorities tracked a suspect through city surveillance. In a desperate escape, he ran toward the shoreline and entered the sea. At a gas station, a motorbike rider stayed seated while refueling, clearly preparing to speed off without paying. The plan seemed simple, but it didn't go unnoticed. The moment he tried to escape, a female worker reacted fast, grabbing and pulling him off the bike before he could get away. On her way to work, a woman suddenly spotted a robbery unfolding and didn't look away. Without hesitation, she stepped in and moved after the suspects, closing the distance with focus and determination. The pressure built quickly. As the others scattered, she managed to corner one individual and hold the situation steady until it was brought under control. Dogs aren't just companions. They can be an extra layer of awareness for your home. Naturally alert and loyal, a dramatic pursuit unfolded in Brazil after a group carried out a large-scale theft and tried to escape. When their vehicle failed, they scrambled, attempting to take a motorbike to continue the getaway. But time ran out. Authorities were already closing in, tracking their every move through the streets. Officers moved in fast, surrounding the area and taking control within moments, detaining everyone involved. What looked like a medical crisis quickly turned into a calculated distraction. Inside a store, a man suddenly collapsed, appearing to suffer a seizure. Staff rushed to help, focusing entirely on the emergency. But it was a setup. While attention was diverted, an accomplice moved in, taking two high-value bulldogs worth thousands of dollars. A tense moment unfolded when a suspect moved in, aiming to take her vehicle. Everything was building fast, seconds from going wrong. But she reacted first. No hesitation. She grabbed the keys and moved quickly, creating distance before the situation could escalate. The sudden shift caught the suspect off guard. The plan unraveled instantly. Sometimes one smart move changes everything. Stay alert. A tense situation unfolded on Avenida 20 de Noviembre when a robbery attempt began to escalate, but it didn't last long. Authorities responded within moments, moving in quickly before the situation could spiral out of control. The suspects were secured at the scene, and order was restored almost instantly. A street theft attempt quickly fell apart when a woman refused to back down. After her phone was taken, she created space and drew attention, buying herself crucial seconds. Nearby drivers and residents noticed immediately and rushed in. In an instant, the situation flipped. The suspect was surrounded, cut off from escape, and held at the scene as the crowd took control. An attempted phone snatch on Jose Marti Street took an unexpected turn when a cyclist outsmarted would-be thieves. A robbery attempt was quickly disrupted after a business's security system activated during the incident. Surveillance footage shows several individuals entering the store and moving toward the counter and display areas. Moments later, a dense fog filled the Pomashini, significantly reducing visibility. The sudden loss of sight disoriented the suspects, preventing them from locating valuables. Within seconds, they abandoned the attempt and fled the scene. Just as a Porsche pulled up to a front gate, robbers made their move, likely tracking the vehicle beforehand. One suspect jumped out, drew a gun, and demanded the car. But the driver didn't panic. Calm and focused, he instantly shifted into reverse, backing away with precision and control. In a moment where seconds mattered, that composure changed everything. With what's believed to be bulletproof glass adding protection, the driver created distance and avoided the threat. A would-be thief tried to pull off a quick grab, but nothing went as planned. From the very first move, things started to unravel. Poor timing, awkward execution, and zero control turned the attempt into a mess. A motorcycle theft attempt was stopped after individuals nearby intervened at a garment factory. According to reports, the suspects attempted to take the vehicle and flee the scene. However, bystanders quickly noticed the situation and stepped in, surrounding the suspects and preventing their escape. The incident was brought under control shortly after. A quiet street exploded into chaos as a motorcycle roared up to a fashion store. Two robbers rushed in. The passenger jumped off, pulled a gun, and aimed it straight at the shop owner, who collapsed to the floor in fear. The grab was fast, aggressive, nearly complete. But then, everything changed. Police arrived at the exact moment. No time to escape. The gunman froze, then broke. Shaking, he dropped to the ground and surrendered on the spot as the entire plan collapsed in seconds. An early morning alarm led to a swift police response in Westminster. Officers arrived at a business near Newland Street and Westminster Avenue around 6:30 a.m. and found the burglary still in progress. No delay, no hesitation. Police moved in immediately, catching the suspects on site before they could escape. One by one, they were detained as the scene was brought under control. What was meant to be a quiet break-in ended with instant capture. A coordinated effort between municipal monitoring teams and police resulted in an arrest in Iquique, underscoring the role of real-time surveillance in public safety. The incident was identified through cameras operated by the Municipal Alert Center under the Ilustre Municipalidad de Iquique, where operators detected suspicious activity and alerted patrol units. Working with the SIP unit of Carabineros de Chile, officers responded promptly and detained the suspect without incident. A robber rolled up on a motorbike, aiming what looked like a handgun at a man inside a parked car, expecting fear and compliance. But he chose the wrong target. The driver didn't hesitate. In a split second, he drew his weapon and fired back. Everything flipped. The suspect froze, lost control, and fell off the bike, unable to continue the escape. A growing pattern of mobile phone thefts is raising concern as thieves on bicycles target distracted pedestrians. These offenders move fast, approaching silently, then snatching phones straight from victims' hands before speeding away. The attacks often happen in seconds, leaving little time to react. An attempted armed robbery at a fashion store was stopped after police arrived at the scene. According to reports, two suspects arrived on a motorcycle and entered the store. One of them displayed a firearm and threatened the shop owner while taking merchandise. Authorities responded in time, interrupting the incident before the suspects could escape. At Iquique's Municipal Alert Center, operators spotted unusual activity near the coastal area and flagged it in real time. The response was immediate. Officers moved in with precision, guided by live camera feeds tracking the suspects' movements. Within minutes, the individuals were located and apprehended, before the situation could escalate. After the robbery, the suspects sped off on a motorbike, cutting through narrow streets, trying to disappear. But the escape didn't last. A high-risk police pursuit concluded with the arrest of a suspect following a dangerous attempt to evade authorities. According to reports, officers began tracking a vehicle traveling at excessive speed and posing a risk to public safety. The driver failed to comply with signals and attempted to flee, weaving through traffic and ignoring traffic controls. Patrol units maintained pursuit while coordinating positions to contain the situation and limit the suspect's movement. The incident ended when officers successfully stopped the vehicle and detained the driver without further incident. Authorities noted that the response emphasized controlled coordination to manage the risk on public roadways